What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. So today I will be doing a tutorial of this beautiful look. I'm just kidding, guys. So Velvet Room Canada sent me a beautiful yellow lehenga, so I'm just going to go shoot some content and pictures for it. But today I wanted to address something that a lot of you have asked me about, be it in my adoption video or just on social media as it is, on my TikToks, on my Instagram, everywhere. So I've been getting a lot of questions in the comments of my adoption story or on TikTok or on any other social media platform, Instagram, all of that. People have been asking more stories about my heart surgery. And I'll get into that in a second, but I have to say one thing. A lot of comments that I've gotten have said to me, why are you highlighting your chest? Yes, the scar right here. People think I'm taking a highlighter and just going all the way down. Or people say to me, we can see your tan line. And I'm like, this is not a tan line. So I thought, why not just come out and explain what happened to me when I was a kid and the process that my parents went through. So I knew some of the details, but I didn't fully know it because I wanted to get all the information together. I wanted to get how my parents were feeling, all of that. A lot of questions that I didn't ask before, which I should have, because it was so interesting to find out what they had to go through. So let's get this started. I'm just gonna give a little quick rundown. I was adopted at a very young age, and when my parents adopted me, my mom had taken me for a checkup with the doctor, and the doctor said that I had a hole in my heart. And so my mom told the orphanage, and the orphanage told her that she could exchange the child like I was some defective toy. So that's the little bit of a breakdown that I wanted to give you guys. What I didn't know was that when my mom had adopted me from the orphanage and brought me into her family home in India, where I met such a beautiful family and everything just felt so loving and at home, I didn't know that my adoption papers weren't fully processed yet. She was allowed to take me home, introduced to the family, all of that. Paperwork wasn't processed, and then she thought, why not take my daughter to just make sure that her health is okay, everything is fine. And that is when the doctor told her that I had a hole in my heart. And I was actually very surprised because I had to ask my parents this question. I asked mom and dad yesterday, I'm like, you guys, the papers weren't even fully processed yet, but you guys had the chance to put me back and take a healthy baby. You waited to adopt for about 7 years and you got the green light, and now you adopted me and I came with a big problem. Why did you not decide to take another child? Personally, if this was me, I wouldn't either. But my parents' reasoning was just, it made me so emotional. Their reasoning was that my mom said to me that she was sick since a very young age of 23. And now to know that her new baby, her daughter, is going to be going through a surgery and has a hole in her heart and will be going through some medical problems. She was very hurt, very traumatized, very scared, but that didn't mean that she was going to give me back. So my mom and dad, they talked, and my dad said, I would not give this child back. Doesn't matter, she is my daughter. So when I asked them, I'm like, what was the exact reasoning? The reasoning was, my mom said, if she had a biological kid and this kid came out with some issues, she's like, what would I do? I would take care of that child. That child is my child. I will give my life to that child. And she was like, that was the same thing with you. You were the first child to come out of the orphanage that I saw, and you were my child, and that was it. Doesn't matter what problems came along, you are going to live your life with me. And that's what your dad and I decided. And I went, that's an absolute beautiful reasoning. And oh my God, I'm trying not to cry, but it did make me super emotional. And yeah. So dad flew to India and we lived in this area in Delhi called Green Park. And in Green Park, our home there, I think it was A22. I think that was the number. I could be wrong. It was A block. And there was this massive platform balcony. And my dad, when he took me to the doctors with him, and they said that she has a hole in her heart. This is going to be a problem. She won't be able to fly. She'll have to stay here. We'll see what happens with her, and if everything works out, then she could get her visa and then she could come to Toronto. And my dad told my mom that if you have to stay here in India for the next 3 years, you will stay here. I'm gonna go back to Toronto, work, and come back and forth to see my child. So that's the deal that they had made. But when my dad found that news out, he went onto that balcony. My mom told me that he would just stand there and just cry. I hate knowing this. But yeah, he would just stand there and cry, and he was super emotional because obviously your child is going through something that you don't know if they're going to survive it. You don't know what's going to happen. It's super scary. So for 1 whole year, I wouldn't gain any weight. I was the same weight that I was when my parents adopted me. My blood circulation wasn't normal. My mom told me that in the community and area, every time she'd be with me, someone would say, oh, she's really weak. I had purple marks and a purple tongue because of how malnourished I was, and I just wouldn't grow. That is when my dad decided, let's go take her to the Canadian embassy within Delhi and see what happens. And there was a Canadian doctor that was working there, and he was checking all the kids. And I was really hyper. When it was the doctor's time to check me, he would take his instruments and begin, but I couldn't stop giggling, laughing. I was super, super hyper. And he just said, your child is fine. He didn't even get a chance to check my heart. And he said that your child is fine. And somehow my visa got done and I was able to come to Toronto. It's still a whirlwind when I think about this story. Like, I genuinely wholeheartedly believe in Kismet, and I believe that I was destined to be with this family. Once my visa was done, I came into Canada and my parents took me to the family doctor, and she said, yep, she has a hole in her heart. She needs to have surgery. And so my parents applied for my surgery into Sick Kids Hospital. And the day I was admitted, I could not eat for about 12 hours. And that was the day I was going to have my surgery. And then some really big case came up and the doctor was unable to do my surgery. So my surgery got pushed for another 10 hours. And then he had to come in and tell us that it is going to be pushed again because the complications of another child. And so my surgery got pushed for about 2 days. Pretty much, and I couldn't eat anything because they didn't know when that surgery would begin. My mom had to make sure that for 12 hours prior to surgery there was no food in my system. So my mom actually stayed every day at the hospital with me. Crazy part of the story, which really blows my mind, because I remember the doctor taking me, but I don't remember this specific part. But basically, my parents were crying, and as the doctor was taking me away, I looked at my dad and I said, "Papa rona na," which means please do not cry. Main wapas aa rahi hu. I'm coming back. And that obviously made them cry more. Good job, Tia. So yeah, like that actually really blows my mind that like I was so in tune with my feelings, with my parents at such a young age. And that is also why I think genuinely that I was destined to be a part of this family. Once I had my surgery and then I was put into recovery and my parents were able to come see me, my dad came into the room and I used to say the word anya, meaning pain. And I don't even think it's a real word. I just think I made it up or something. I had a lot of words that I had made up. And I told my dad that doctor ne maino pee kiti hai, meaning that he hurt me. And again, I'm speaking like my own type of language. And my dad goes, "Hune main jaake undi anya karanga," meaning that I'm gonna go hit him right now. So my dad purposely just stepped out of the door for like a minute and then came back in and said, "Yes, I hit the doctor because he hurt you." The worst part was when I was in recovery after the surgery, I got a fever and I had like these pipes in my stomach. I still have the marks from those pipes and bunch of machines hooked up to me, and because of my size and my weight and all of that, it was super scary that I had this fever and that I wasn't feeling well. So they kept monitoring me, making sure that my temperature was going down, that I was able to breathe, that I didn't feel that much pain, etc., etc. Finally, they were able to take all the pipes out, and the one time my mom said she broke down the most compared to all the other times was when they had the pipes in me and they had to take those pipes out. And when they took those pipes out, they had to pull them out. My mom's like, she ran out of the room and she was just crying because it was just so much pain once those pipes came out. And I screamed and she could hear me scream from outside the room. So I cannot imagine how traumatizing that is for a parent. Like I said, my mom would stay with me at the hospital, and the doctors did say that her recovery will be faster if there's physical therapy, as in if she's walking around and all that other stuff once I get a little bit better. So for the first 2 days, I was in a wheelchair. My mom would just roll me around. And then, now I know why I'm a night owl. Mom's like, all the kids would fall asleep at night and you were the only one awake and you wanted to walk around the whole hospital. And because I was so active, the doctor actually said that my recovery was much faster than usual. And I was the last kid to get the surgery done in the batch of kids that were getting heart surgeries. And I was the first one to recover. And I was actually discharged on the day of Vaisakhi. Once I was discharged and came home, the only problem I really had was my parents had to make sure that, yes, I was active, but I wasn't overly hyper. And the only thing that really used to hurt me was if I was in the car and my dad, whenever he would be driving, if he had to hit the brakes, it would hurt, and it would hurt for 1 to 2 minutes because of the effects after. So before dad would ever hit the brakes, mom would hold on to me and she would just hug me tight and keep me in a stiff position so that I wouldn't feel it. And then my parents would get my checkup done once a month, and then every 3 months to 6 months, and then once a year. And now I still get checked up. I always have to go in once a year to get a full checkup of my heart. And yeah, it's a process pretty much. I have to take care of my health on a little bit of a different level. Sometimes I freak out because my heart starts racing in the morning and it feels like my chest is about to pop out of my body. And so because of my previous problems, I obviously go to the doctors and I get checked up to make sure everything is okay. I can't really go on roller coasters as much. Because the drop, it's not that I'm scared. It's actually, I've asked people what they feel, and a lot of people say they feel this excitement, like their chest is kind of going in. I kind of feel a little bit of pain, so I've just avoided roller coasters in general. But other than that, I'm completely fine. My heart is good. I'm healthy. But yeah, guys, that's my story. You guys have been asking about it for a long time. And I don't know why I didn't just make a video about it after my adoption story. And I hope it did shed some light on what my parents went through and my recovery process. And it's still like, I'm very happy and blessed to have such parents and this thought process, because I know for a fact that in specific villages and situations when a child has an issue, you know, a lot of the children are given up. Again, when we talk about my adoption, the reason of me being given up could be because maybe they knew I had a hole in my heart, they couldn't take care of me. Maybe, you know, because I was a girl, female infanticide was at a high rate back then. There could be many various reasons, but what I know is that I have these beautiful parents who take care of me. They're my wonderful, wonderful parents. And I have to clarify something because this just came into my head. Sometimes I have, obviously, haters who like to say that these parents aren't yours, or they'll say things like you were given up because you were ugly, you were unwanted, all of that. To you guys, what I have to say, if you're watching it, sure, I was given up for whatever reason, but why was I a choice for another parent? Clearly they wanted me, and these are my parents. A biological child or anything to do biologically doesn't mean anything. You know, they say family is blood. No, for me, family is loyalty. Family is love, and it's compassion towards each other, and that's what defines that word for me, nothing else. Blood doesn't. There's a lot of people out there who don't even talk to their own blood, so don't be out here telling me that blood is thicker than water. No, it's how you are with your family that makes a family. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you guys are staying safe, taking those precautions, sending you tons of love, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.